أشرقت نفسي بنور من فؤادي حينما رددت يا رب العباد وانتشت روحي وصار الدمع يجري يا إلهي خذ بقلبي للرشاد.
And so he sold it for more, then he's not broken his oath. Walhamdulillah. Jayyid. If he meant that he would not sell it for less than 100. Jayyid. In arada alla yunqisahu an mi'a. So when he said, Wallahi, I won't sell it for, Wallahi, I will only sell it for 100. He meant that I won't sell it for less. If he sold it for more, his oath is not broken. وَإِنْ حَلَفَ لَيَتَزَوَّجَنَّ عَلَى إِمْرَأَتِهِ يُرِيدُ غَيْظَهَا لَمْ يَبَرَّ إِلَّا بِتَزْوِيجٍ يَغِيظُهَا بِهِ. Allah musta'an. If he swore an oath that he will surely marry a second time with the intention of making his wife jealous, etc., then his oath is not kept except by marrying somebody who would make his wife jealous. Meaning, someone says, Wallahi to his wife, I'm going to get married again. Jayyid. So now he wants to fulfill this yameen of his. He says, well, okay, now, you know what I'll do is I'll get married to a female who's maybe 90 years old. No, this will not be acceptable, the author states. Why? Because when you said it, your intention was to make her jealous. So you would have to get married to somebody who would make your wife jealous. Whereas getting married to somebody who's 99 years old is not really, technically you think you fulfilled the oath, but no. What was your intention behind the oath? You are held accountable with regards to your intention. The author continues and he states, وَإِنْ حَلَفَ لَيَضْرِبَنَّهَا يُرِيدُ تَأْلِيمَهَا لَمْ يَبَرَّ إِلَّا بِضَرْبٍ يُؤْلِمُهَا وإن حلف ليضربنها 10 أسواط فجمعها فضربها ضربة واحدة لم يبر. Allah musta'an. As we mentioned previously, the fuqaha, they mention examples, many examples. Why? So that the faqih, so that the student, he has this tamreen and he has these exercises. Not necessarily that they are encouraging any of this. The author states, if he swears that he will surely beat his wife, Wallahi, I'm going to beat you, with the intention of causing her pain, his oath is not kept except by a beating that will cause her pain. Because when he said this, his intention was to cause her pain, Jayyid, and so he would not fulfill his oath if, for example, he just hit her very slightly. If he swears that he will surely beat her with 10 lashes, 10 times, and then he combines them all together, Jayyid, he took 10 miswaks and he hits her with that, then he beats her with a single blow, his oath has not been fulfilled. Why? Because when he said he is going to beat her 10 times, he meant 10 times. And he didn't mean 10 in one. Rather, he meant 10 times. Someone might say, well, during the time of Ayyub alayhi salam, didn't he have a similar situation? We say that was khas for Ayyub alayhi salam. This here, when you said your oath, you are bound by the intention of your oath. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. The author continues and he states, فإن عدمت النية رجع إلى سبب اليمين وما هيجها فيقوم مقام نيته لدلالته عليها. If the person says, but I don't really have an intention, I said Wallahi this and Wallahi that for this and for that, but I'm not really sure what my intention was. So Ya Abdullah, take note. Number one, we look at the intention of the individual. If there's no intention, then we look at the sabab, the situation, look at what context was the oath given in to understand the type of oath. If there was technically no context or we differ about that, then we look at the actual words that this person mentioned. We look at the zahir, the actual words, the literal. And the literal can be divided into 3 categories. Number one, we look at the sharia definition of those literal words, like salah wouldn't mean dua, but it would mean the actual salah that we're talking about. He says, Wallahi, I'm going to pray salah between Maghrib and Isha. It wouldn't mean dua, but rather we take it and we understand it in the context of him praying, making salah, 2 rakahs, etc. if, for example, there's no Sharia definition, then we look at the Urfi definition. We look at the custom and the norm of that word in that society. What do they understand from that word? And if we don't have something there, or there's ikhtilaf, then we look at the Arabic language definition of that word. So I repeat, when someone makes an oath, number one, we look at obviously the words, and we look at the intention of this person. Super important, intention. No intention, look at context. No context, the actual literal, but the literal is divided into three categories: the Sharia literal, the customary literal, and the Arabic language definition literal. Let's see. If the intention is lacking, reference is made to the cause of his oath and what provoked it, for this takes the place of the intention which it serves to indicate. So it gives us an indication of what the intention could have been. If that's also lacking, then his oath is construed according to the literal sense of its verbal expression. And then the author goes into various examples, and he states, فَإِنْ عَدِمَ ذَلِكَ حُمِلَتْ يَمِينُهُ عَلَى ظَاهِرِ اللَّفْظِ فَإِنْ كَانَ لَهُ عُرْفٌ شَرْعِيٌّ كَالصَّلَاةِ وَالزَّكَاةِ حُمِلَتْ يَمِينُهُ عَلَيْهِ وَتَنَاوَلَتْ صَحِيحَهُ. If he used a term defined by Islamic law, defined by the Sharia, like salah, like zakah, then his oath would be construed accordingly, and it is taken to convey the correct meaning of the term. He says that, Wallahi, I'm going to pay my zakat today. So here he doesn't mean that I'm going to have a bath, I'm going to purify myself. No, it meant, what was meant here, he says, well, I didn't really have meaning. Then we look at the Sharia definition of zakah. The author states, وَلَوْ حَلَفَ, if he swears that he will not make a sale, لو حلف لا يبيع فباع بيعا فاسدا لم يحنث إلا أن يضيفه إلى ما لا يصح بيعه كالحر والخمر فتناوله يمينه صورة البيع. جيد. If, for example, he swears that he will not make a sale, Wallahi, I will not make a sale today, and then he makes a sale which was haram, a sale which was invalid, Jayid, his oath is not broken. Why? Because this was not technically a proper sale. What you did was a haram type of sale, so your oath is not yet broken. Unless he connects it with something that can never be sold legally. He said, Wallahi, I'm not going to sell anything today, and he did a haram transaction, his oath would not be broken. But if he sold something which was haram, he sold alcohol, then his oath would be broken. Why? Because alcohol can never be sold legally, so we have to state here that his oath is now broken. Unless he connects it with something that can never be sold legally, like he sold a free man or an alcoholic drink, in which case his oath includes this type and this form of sale. So, if he said, Wallahi, I'm not going to sell something today, and he did a fasid sale, his oath is not broken. But if he sold alcohol or a free man, his oath is broken. Why? Because those two can never be sold in a legal sale. The author continues and he states, وَإِن لَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ عُرْفٌ شَرْعِيٌّ وَكَانَ لَهُ عُرْفٌ فِي الْعَادَةِ كَالرَّاوِيَ وَالضَّعِينَ حُمِلَتْ يَمِينُهُ عَلَيْهِ. If the term has no legal definition, no Sharia definition, but it does have a customary meaning amongst the people, the urf, the custom, the norms of the people in ordinary daily usage, like the term rawiya, which is a water bag, adjust your translation, and the word dha'ina, which means a female, a young female, then his oath is construed in that sense. So these words in the old, they might have been used for something else, but custom, the norm of the people now is that the word rawiya means a water bag, and dha'ina means a female. If he swears that he will not mount a dabba, his oath applies to horses, mules, and donkeys. He says, I will not ride a dabba. Dabba in the urf of the people means an animal which is ridden. But the linguistic definition of dabba means that which moves on the face of this earth. So if he said, Wallahi, I will not ride a dabba, and then he was on the shoulder of his father, or he was on the shoulder of a strong man, has his oath been broken? No. Why? Because customarily when you say, I will not ride a dabba, what's meant is a donkey, a mule, or a horse. The author continues and he states, وَإِنْ حَلَفَ لَا يَشُمْ الرِّيحَانِ فَيَمِينُهُ عَلَى الْفَارِسِ. If he swore that he will not taking the scent of the rayhan, then his oath relates to the Persian type of rayhan, Jayid, meaning the Persian meaning of the term the sweet basil. If he uses the term shiwa, it signifies grilled meat and not any other type of meat, Jayid. وإن حلف لا يأكل شواء حنث بأكل اللحم المشوي دون غيره. He says, I will not have, wallahi, I'm not going to eat any mashwi, Jayid. And then he ate some fish which was grilled, or he ate something else which was grilled. Then his oath is not broken. Why? Because usually, customarily amongst the people, when you say mashwi, it means grilled meat, and it does not mean, for example, fish or anything else. وإن حلف لا يطأ امرأته حنث بجماعها وإن حلف لا يطأ دار حنث بدخولها كيفما كان. If he swears that Jayid, also the author mentioned, وإن حلف لا يطأ امرأته, if for example he swore that he would not touch his wife, or he would not set foot into the house, Jayid, and what is meant by he would not touch his wife, the urf, the custom meaning means that he would not be intimate with his wife, would not have intercourse with his wife. So if he just touched her like this, his oath is not yet broken. If for example he says, Wallahi, I will not set foot into this house, what's customarily meant here is that he will not enter the house, period. So if he put his hand into it, then his oath is now broken. وإن حلف لا يأكل لحما ولا رأسا ولا بيضا فيمينه على كل لحم ورأس كل حيوان وبيضه والأدم كل ما جرت العادة بأكل الخبز به من مائع وجامد كاللحم والبيض والملح والجبن والزيتون. The author states, if for example he swore that he will not eat meat, Jayid, he swore that he will not eat meat, nor any head, no eggs, then his oath applies to meat, heads and eggs of any animal. Why? Because there's no technical urf for this. He says, Wallahi, I'm not going to eat any head, I'm not going to eat any egg, I'm not going to eat any meat. Then this would apply to everything generally, all types of meat, all types of eggs, all types of heads of animal. Except if he had obviously an intention. This is all to do with if there was no intention that he had. Jayid. The term Adam seasoning signifies anything with which bread is usually eaten, both liquid and solid, like meat, eggs, salt, cheese, and olives. That's a fa'idah that the author gives us, a benefit. وَإِنْ حَلَفَ لَا يَسْكُنُ دَارًا تَنَاوَلَ مَا يُسَمَّى سُكْنًا. If, for example, he said that he will not live, he says that he swears that he will not reside in a house. His oath includes everything that is called residence. So if he was in the house for like 2 minutes, then he would not have broken his oath. But rather we look at the urf, the custom, the norm, what would have meant, what would really give the meaning of you now staying in that house. The author continues, فَإِنْ كَانَ سَاكِنًا بِهَا فَأَقَامَ بعدما أمكنه الخروج منه حنث وإن أقام لنقل قماشه أو كان ليلا فأقام حتى يصبح أو خاف على نفسه فأقام حتى أمن لم يحنث. جيد. If he has been residing in that house and then he stays on after he could have departed from it. So he was in the house and he says, Wallahi, I'm not going to stay in this house any longer. And then he sat there for maybe 2 hours, 5 hours, 20 hours, and he could have left. There was nothing stopping him. Then he has now broken his oath. Jayid. He has broken his oath. But if he stays in order to move the furniture, in order to, take all his belongings, he's packing his stuff. Wallahi, I'm not going to stay in this house. And he begins packing. So he needed this time, and so that would not break his oath. Also in the old days, if it was at night, he says, Wallahi, I'm not going to stay in this house any longer. And so he slept the night because he won't really exit during the night. He'll exit during the morning. Then this is acceptable. Whereas today it might be different. Someone at night might say, Wallahi, I'm not going to stay in this house. Then he is obliged to leave at that time. Why? Because obviously he is able to leave at this time. He's got the car, he can leave. If, for example, there's a reason which prevents him, there's danger, then he would not have broken his oath. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best.